There we are. Welcome to this vampiric energy clearing video. Later on in the video, I'll talk about vampiric energy. But to start with, I'll talk about energetic vampires because that's a much more interesting topic. And energy vampires is not as and vampiric entities is not. I just put lights on. Now I'm tongue-tied. Great. And vampiric entities is not as interesting a topic. So with energy vampires, there are two kinds. There is the kind where they know exactly what they're doing. They're working with entities or angels or whatever they're seeing, but they're working with them and they believe they're benefiting from it. And then there is the second kind where they have no real idea and they're in essentially a demonic trance or a vampiric trance or whatever entity is working through them. Vampiric energy vampires, there we go, I'll remember that. Energy vampires is basically a broad catch-all term. So just because someone is an energy vampire does not mean that they are working with vampiric entities. They may be working with reptilians, they may be working with demons, they may be working with purgatory skeletons, they may be working with snakes or dragons or archangels. But if they are actively stealing the energy from others, if they're going around and they are a blight on humanity, then they are an energy vampire. Now, I can think of only really two reasons why someone would become an energy vampire. The first one is that they're unaware, they're not very intelligent, and they could just get a sense of feeling better when they're around particular people. They allow their entities to guide them and they don't think much. The other kind are the malicious kinds. And these people are well aware that they are stealing off the energy of others, but they just like essentially naughty children. There's no real repercussions for it. So they go around and they steal energy and they feel better. They think, oh, this is good. Yeah, I enjoy bringing other people down and lifting myself up. They may simply not have the basic morality to comprehend that their actions are causing problems for others, or they simply don't care. But those are the two kinds. Now, in regards to energy vampirism, it's been going on for as long as humanity's been going on. So long as there have been negative entities around, they have worked through others, and if someone is more willing to work with them, then usually they will help them. They'll help them build a business. They'll become someone that people see and they'll just keep thinking of them. And people will often take that as a good sign because then they're not aware of the darker side of what's going on. And they'll often end up the top in their industry, even if they're not that skilled. And you think, oh, okay, so they are benefiting by using these vampiric entities. And the answer is yes, they are benefiting from them for potentially years. But then one day, the vampiric entities will go, okay, we've built you up. Now let's just knock you over. That'll be more fun. And then they'll end up getting divorced. They may have a loved one just die. Suddenly they'll stop getting anywhere near as much business as they were. Or everybody that was magnetized to them before in a dark way is now unable to even see them. That's what usually happens there. Now, with energy vampirism, this is not a video that's going to give you tips on how to be an energy vampire. This is the wrong channel for that. This video will give you tips on how to prevent energy vampirism and how to stop it altogether. This clearing video, as it plays, I'll talk about it in more detail as I go, but it will clear you from various implants and energetic attachments vampiric people have put on you. It will gradually clear vampiric energy and ways they've got at you as you've grown up, even through a child, really from right to now. And if an energy vampire is currently attacking you or has been recently, this video will energetically help block them and keep them from getting at you. That is the purpose of this energetic clearing video. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to write it in the chat and I will go ahead and answer them as I go through. So the first thing I'll talk about is shielding and how energy vampires can get around it. So in regards to shielding, if you do not have an energetic shield, if you are walking around and you've never put up a shield and you've never played a working shielding video, then you are essentially wide open. You have natural energetic resistance, but if you're living on Earth and you're even 15, 16, your energetic resistance is pretty beat up. So an energy vampire can say, oh, you have a soul, or their entities will say, oh, you have a soul, and then just attack you. The more beat up you already are by entities, the more easily they'll be able to drain you. And they will, if you are energetically... My light turned off. What? Why? I charged the battery. All right, well, so much for that. Anyway, so if you're walking around unshielded, yes, they can just attack you. But even if you are shielded, they have developed different ways over time to get at you. The main way they will get through shielding is through physical touch. So an energy vampire will usually, they'll just keep putting their hand on your shoulder. They'll keep touching you all around. The best thing to do is be very blunt to tell them, do not touch me, and actively back away. Don't get physically confrontational, but make it very clear you don't want them touching you. And they'll say, oh, what's wrong? Like acting as if they're consciously working with it, they're like as if, oh, nothing's wrong, you're just being touchy. But if they're in a demonic trance and they won't so much as try and be smooth about it, they'll usually just mumble their way through it. But you have to watch out for physical touching. If someone is an energy vampire, if their overall energetic state is negative and they're trying to steal your energy, do not let them have physical contact with you whatsoever. Another way they will try and get at you is through curse messages. I was going to talk about this in a curse video, but I'll just talk about it again then. So if someone is an energy vampire, what they will do is you'll message them, or they may message you, but let's say you're texting an energy vampire and you write something and then it takes them 4 hours to respond. And you think, oh, okay, they must have gone out and done a whole lot of errands and then come back and message me. And then the next day they message you again and it takes 6 hours to respond. And you think, okay, they have a lot more errands. And then over time, it may even take these people days, like 6 days to respond. What is going on there is they're not sitting there thinking really, really hard for 4 hours about how to respond to you. What they're doing, if they're in a demonic trance, they're sitting there and they're just mumbling and pouring negative energy from them, and their vampiric entities just pouring energy into this text message or email, just absolutely pouring it in. If they're constantly working with them, they're sitting there and they can feel the energy building up and they can feel it going into the message. And then when they go, okay, good, that's good enough, I'm going to do this, and this person will, well, whatever their agenda is, I'll get a whole lot of their energy, they'll fall in love with me, they'll, find me a much more interesting person, whatever it is. They'll put it in, and then you'll get the message, and it just blows up right in your face. That is a cursed message. You can shield from that. Shielding from it will help mitigate it, but it's not usually going to fully stop it because they've just spent 4 hours building it up. Yes, this does sound crazy, and yes, they do that all the time. It's one of their go-to things, just spending hours cursing one message to send to you. And a lot of people, especially if they've not got much energetic resistance, or they're really not aware of what's going on energetically, they'll just think, oh, they're very odd. But then their agenda of what they're doing with this message, whether it be to lower your physical health or to gradually infect you with their negative entities, will work. The best way to avoid this is relatively simple. If someone is just taking 4 hours and you can tell that when their energy is getting there, it's very negative, tell them outright, hey, stop that. Or if you don't want to do that, you don't have the confidence for that, just block them, all right? Just on whether it's text or email, block them. Now, if it's your boss or someone, that may be not something you can really do, so you'll have to mitigate it. But if it's not someone that's a boss, if they're supposed to be your friend or a family member or relative, just block them. It's not worth dealing with someone sending you curse messages, because the people that will send you curse messages, they won't send you one curse message. They'll send you one, and if it works, they'll go, okay, good, that works. I'll do it every now and then. If it doesn't work, then you're waiting 6 days for a response to like, hey, something very simple. And then, boom, it just blows up. So the best thing to do is block these people and just get them out of your life. The best way to deal with energy vampires, it's not, oh, deep down, everybody's good. No, even if these people really deep down are energetically good, right now they are consciously making the choice to be evil. And you'd be much better off just taking the time you work on them and just work on yourself. This person will most likely be evil for the rest of their life unless they have an epiphany or something really bad happens to them and they think, oh, hang on a moment, these things that are working for me that are supposed to be on my side have turned against me. But it's very rare that they come to that realization when they know they're actively doing evil. So the best thing to do is to get rid of them. I'm just reading the comments, seeing if there's any that are important. Another thing they'll do, just in regards to physical touching, just how they will stand up, build up their energy for emails. They'll do it with physical touch as well. If they know that they're going to see you at something you can't avoid, like a funeral, for 2 days, the negative entities will build up their energy, and then they'll touch you, and it'll be like they've just electrocuted you with negative energy. They'll do that as well. I mean, when I energy clear, I don't spend time building up my energy. I just basically use it as it is and just gradually erase through things. So the concept of doing that, number one, it would take way more energy. So it doesn't seem anywhere near as efficient, but these people are working with negative entities. So they believe this is the way to do it. You just let the entities work through you. Yes, with energy vampires, if you cut them off, and if a lot of people cut them off, they will often age very quickly. They will, their health will deteriorate, their physical and mental health. They won't be able to sleep. They'll have massive insomnia. That's because they're absolutely infested with vampiric entities, and without stealing other people's energy to prop them up, they can no longer function. That does tend to happen with energy vampires. A big reason they do steal energy vampires, they tend to either need barely any sleep because they're functioning off of other people's energy, or there really isn't an order. That just tends to be a typical thing. Like they'll be able to work all the time and function in a way that you and I would not be able to do because they're feeding off of 80, 90 people. If an energy vampire targets you, it's normally, I wouldn't say it's anything personal. To them, it is personal. But for you, it's not really personal. They're just, if there was someone else in a similar position to you, they're doing the exact same thing. And they won't just target one person. They'll target every single person they know. That's just how they operate. Another way they can get at you is curse speech. They will, just like with their message, they can energetically just build up, and they'll essentially think about something in their head. They'll just loop a sentence or even a paragraph in their head over and over and over and over for days, literally days. And then they'll throw it right at you, and you've now been hit with vampiric curse energy that way. When it hits you, it will lower your energetic resistance. There'll be quite a lot of vampiric entities in what they've just thrown at you. And once those entities are inside of you, they'll start feeding off of you, and they'll often give a portion of your energy to the other person. So the way this video will clear vampiric energy from you, overall, I'll just keep talking about energy vampires. Other than negative chords, which I have a video, I'd recommend you cut those yourself, as it is a good fundamental way to practice. But one way they will get you, and this can even happen before you're born, once you've been incarnated, if you have pretty bad parents and you're a fetus, they will, and I've seen this in quite a few people, negative entities will come off of their parents, or if their parents have terrible friends, they'll come off them and they'll stick to you even at the 3-4 month period, and you'll end up with negative entities on you that are just feeding away. Now, their main goal for these entities is not to give the energy back to these people. It's to essentially go on you and to just feed off as much of your energy as they can to become as strong as they can, which causes large energetic imbalances. While I was preparing the energy for this video earlier today, I felt somewhat dizzy and out of it, I dropped a plate, which I don't normally do. And rather than me moving and grabbing the plate, I just went like I just watched it fall and shatter. And I went, oh dear, I'd better clean that up. So if you're watching this and you're feeling a bit disoriented and dizzy, that's because these vampiric attachments that you have accumulated tend to take up large amounts of energy in your energy body. So as these clear, you can feel a bit dizzy and out of it because you've just had a major leech that's been on you for potentially decades erased, and now there's a large gap in your energy, which is causing the dizziness. This video will help replenish that gap, but just be careful. You first go through and try not to do anything that can potentially go wrong if you're not incredibly vigilant. I'll just check questions now. Jai says he's sometimes so overwhelmed with work that he responds to messages late. Is this an unconscious energy vampiric program? I mean, I wouldn't say it's vampiric energy. That can be, procrastination can be an energetic program where it's like, okay, this is important. And they'll put other things in your way that are significantly less important, but busy work. So I'd say that's what's going on there. Do energy vampires work in clusters? No, energy vampires absolutely hate each other because they recognize each other. So energy vampires, there'll usually only be one in a group. And if another one joins, the energy vampire will hate them. They'll try and convince everybody this person's evil, that they've got some dark secrets, that they're pure evil. So no, if there's two energy vampires in a group, one will win and the other one will be ousted. It just depends on which energy vampire has more really attachments and more ways into the other people in the group. But no, they will usually be singular, and it's rare. But if people in the group become conscious, they start energy training and figuring out what's going on, they will go, hang on a moment, you're evil and you've always been evil. And it'll be very obvious because once you start realizing what's going on, it becomes very, very obvious. And then they'll all discard them, but that's very rare. But no, energy vampires tend to want to be the only one there. And they'll often also be quite literal. If like they'll start saying things, if they can't get you, they'll be like, you feel very distant to me, you feel very cold. I have this quite a lot with people who've had problems with partners, how their partner's complaining that they're very detached and cold. It's like, well, yes, you have dreadful energy and you're actively trying to steal their energy. Now they can't say, hey, I'm trying to steal your energy, and you'll be a real terrible person by not letting me have it. Instead, that they'll word it in ways that somewhat vague. Like, oh, you feel very cold, you feel very distant. You need to open yourself up more to me. They'll say things like that. How can you identify if someone is the energy vampire targeting you? Well, it depends how really lucid and conscious you are of energy. If you're someone that has delayed sensitivity, I mean, just look at people logically. If you look at them and you got this, like, look in their eyes, and you just get a sense of this person is evil, it's usually them. If you're talking to someone and you just feel drained, that's a pretty good indicator. Or even if you feel drained 2 hours later, go through the people you've just spoken to, and then if it happens again, go through and it's like you'll then be a detective and you will eliminate the people that it could potentially not be. But it's usually very obvious. Energy vampires make practically no effort to hide themselves whatsoever. They all do the same thing. It's all very apparent. Could soul contracts be experienced? Could be involved with experiencing energy vampires? Sandy asks. The answer is yes, but not in the way that. So the way some people talk about soul contracts is, oh, you've written this thing down and you're going to experience some terrible event like your wife's going to divorce you. But it's okay because you've written it down and you learn from it. That is incorrect. A soul contract will say that you hereby give permission for vampiric entities to target you. And if you have a soul contract that says that, then your potential wife who is an energy vampire and pure evil will be much more attracted to you because it's way easier for her to feed off of you because you have a soul contract that is allowing her to. It's so the soul contract has attracted her to an extent, but once you erase the soul contract, that issue will erase, and she will find it much harder to target you. So that's what I'd say is going on with soul contracts in regards to this. If anyone else has any questions about energy vampires, I've not had much of a problem with them, so my personal experience doesn't go that far because I've always been like, not always, but for quite a while, I've been aware of energy since I was a child. So it's don't touch me, you're pure evil. And my mom said, no, he's not pure evil. You can't judge people like that. Yes, I can. I can judge people on a whim when I first see them, and I've never been wrong. There have been a few times where I've been wrong, but the only times I've really been wrong is if their entities or energies have set up something that feels familiar or this cloaking. And now I know to look for that, so I won't be wrong. But in general, I usually wasn't wrong. I was usually spot on. Energy vampires, they'll tend to implant people and make them think, oh no, they're a much nice person. So they say, no, you don't know that person. They're a good person. They're not. They're pure evil, but they put in your head they're a good person. That's what's usually going on there. It's important to trust your instinct, especially if you can sense energy. If someone suddenly feels familiar, but you can tell they're evil, energetically attack the feeling of familiarity. Try and figure out what's going on there. Because I've had a few people, I'm like, oh, you feel familiar. And I go, wait a minute, no, that's evil familiar. That's not good. Or it's a false sense of familiarity, and you attack it, and it's witch energy. That's very common. At least for me anyway. Like, oh, you're familiar with witch energy. Now I just know. But back then I go, oh, you're familiar. Why? That tends to be how I question things. Yes, in general, an energy vampire wants to have like 40, 50 friends that they have complete control over. That's their goal. And if they can't control you, they won't normally just, give up. They'll view you as a potential threat to the energy group, and they'll either target you a lot more and, potentially want to have a romantic relationship with you. And if that doesn't work, and it's usually, and after that fails, then they'll try and character assassinate you. That's usually what happens with energy vampires once you get on their bad side. How soon will you be able to see entities beyond the physical and vampires after energy training? It depends on the person. Some people, if they energy train for 2 weeks, will be able to, when they're doing visualizations, start to see vampires. Some people, it may take them 3, 4 months. It just depends on how much blockages you've got, the kind of life you've lived, and your overall energy. So it varies massively between person. Yes, usually energy vampires will have that's a good point, Lisa, a personality disorder, because that's an easy out. They go, no, I'm not an evil, pure evil person who's got demonic possession. I have split personality, right? I'm very nice, and they're pure evil. But then when I'm evil, no, that's not me. That's my split personality. They do tend to do that. It's just one thing, just demonic entities in general hate is any kind of self-accountability. So by saying it's not my fault, it's this, that removes any self-accountability from them. That's what's going on there. Yes, that's CK asks, can I use my energy to make them want to leave you alone? Yes, this video will make it that if an energy vampire is actively targeting you, they will feel, number one, they'll feel their energy being erased, which will annoy them. And if they keep doing it, this video will essentially block their energy in with them. And once they figure out it's you, the first time they go, oh dear, and then, oh, well, that won't happen again. They'll try it again and it won't work. And maybe after the 5th or 6th time, they'll go, okay, fine. And they'll stop trying to target you. That is most likely what will happen there. So yes, that is the goal of this video. Because while having a really good defense is important, not having everything into your field to begin with does make it a lot easier. Can I make a video that helps remove self-sabotage? Yes. Although that can be various things, but I'll consider it. Do they know what they're doing? Can it be subconscious? It can be subconscious, but for 98% of them, it's conscious. They know what they're doing. They may not know exactly what they're doing, but they know that if they act a certain way, they feel better. And if they don't, actively message people and they don't steal other people's energy, they'll feel worse. So it is usually conscious. Can energy vampires use people they're draining to drain energy from strangers that the victim is friends with? No, usually not. The only way they could do that is if they put an entity on you, which then started draining people around you, which this video will stop. They're more likely obsessive. So they will look you up on social media and they'll go, oh yes, I'll target you, and then I'll target your friends and family. So when they meet me in the future, or when you talk about me, they'll say, no, he's a good person. He's a good person. He wouldn't do that. Someone they've never met, but they go, no, it's just a feeling. He's a good person, right? Because they have energetically put things on these people to try and make it seem like the universe is telling you they're a good person. So energy vampires will do that, but it's not normally from you to them. It's usually them targeting them on their own. Can energy vampires invade your dreams? Unlikely, because energy vampires don't do any kind of energy training, so they wouldn't be dream walking. So I would say that no, that is very unlikely to happen. Their entities could, but for the most part, no, they're much more likely to target you while awake. Does writing positive messages on paper and attaching them to a glass of water cleanse the water? Yes. I mean, I just energetically put my energy in the water to an atomic level and clear and charge it that way. But yes, you can charge up the paper and put it on the glass, and that would work as well. I don't know anything about radionics devices at all, so I couldn't comment. Can people use black magic to become a conscious energy vampire to literally visit people at night and drain their energy? Yes, they can. Now, in terms of black magic, I've not heard of anyone physically turning into a vampire. I have heard of ghoulism, which does happen in Africa. If someone consumes human flesh, they will develop vampire type fangs and usually on the bottom teeth as well. But that's ghoulism, not vampirism. That's essentially what it is. But yes, they could, if they were willing to sell their soul and give up their body to vampiric entities, and then steal off everyone's energy, make their house into a big black vortex with stealing everyone's energy, then yes, they could amass power. It would be, rather insignificant with the amount of work it would require. They'd be much better off energy training in the long term. But in the short term, yes, they could turn themselves into a somewhat strong energetic vampire, but they wouldn't be them anymore. They would just have handed their body over to a large amount of vampiric entities. But if they're evil, or at least insanely selfish, which is quite evil, then yes, they could become a vampire energetically. Their true self would essentially look like, there's various kinds of vampiric entities. I'll probably get into that in a moment. But yes, you'd look at them and you'd say, show me the true self. And they're just plain and simple vampire in a vampire castle, holding a skull and munching on bones, or like lamb's blood, whatever they're feeding on. So yes, they could do that. So are energy vampires only active through humans? The way I'm explaining this, yes. I've not seen like dog or cat energy vampires. If that's what you're asking, no, I've only seen human energy vampires. You can have demonically possessed dogs and cats, but not normally energy vampires, because they'd have to, number one, have an evil personality, and then number two, they'd have to, be consciously choosing to harm others. So that's unlikely, because they'd usually be possessed by that point anyway. Do I think there are actually blood drinking vampires? In the physical dimension, is it on Earth? Are there physical vampires? Unlikely, very, very unlikely. Possibly deep down in Earth, because just how in the vampiric folklore, how the sunlight burns them. Well, it burns reptilians, it burns everything. So yes, they could be deep down on Earth, just how there would be reptilians deep down in caves physically. But if they try to go up, even before they get to the sunlight, the frequency of the sun hitting the Earth would incinerate them. It'd make them, it'd kill them. So it's very unlikely that even if they are here, we'd have any problem with them. Even at night, that would not be an issue either, because the sun's energy would still be lingering on the Earth. No, soul color is not a main deciding factor on energy training. The most deciding thing is really how consistent you are, how disciplined you are, how much you believe in it, especially when you're first starting. And then your environment. I mean, my environment was absolutely terrible, but it was somewhat of a, I mean, I wouldn't say it was motivated. It's more like I had to keep training no matter what because everything was attacking me all the time. But your environment can play a large factor. If you've got a more positive environment, you'll have an easier time. If you've got a more negative environment, you'll train more. So I'd say that would be more of a deciding factor than anything else. You're sneezing, is this a clearing sign? Yes. Yes, it is. Can vampiric energy hide in candy? It's a very good question. Yes, yes, it can. Pretty much any food has an energetic signature, and it can be energetically targeted to become cursed. So yes, vampiric energy can hide in candy. That's, well, it depends on the kind of life you're living, but it very much does happen. Do vampire movies give vampires more energy? Depends on the movie. Probably not, because in vampire movies, the vampires are usually the bad guy, and then someone normally kills them. So unless it's a movie saying that blood-sucking vampires are good guys and humans are the bad guys, no. And not like a satirical movie, but like a serious take on that. That would be the only way, really. So no, I wouldn't worry about vampires getting stronger from you watching a movie. What are the signs and symptoms of people who are being constantly fed on by energy vampires? Well, they would, number one, just be lethargic. They'd be energetically tired all the time. They could sleep for 12 hours and wake up absolutely drained if they're really getting fed off. The person who's feeding off them, they'll often have just a whole lot of thoughts about them. They can't stop even when they consciously try to. If they try to think a negative thought about that person, like, I don't think something's right about him. I think he's feeding off me. No, he wouldn't do that. He's a good person. That's what they get in their head. Entities can't stand being insulted whatsoever. So it's no, something's not right about him. Something's very off. No, something's off about you. He is the best person you'll ever come across. That is the kind of response the entities will give you. So no, that's what's going on there. Um, Yeah, those would be the main symptoms. I mean, similar symptoms to energy targeting, just overall bad health, physical and mental, low energy levels, negative thoughts, part of the course, really. Are vampiric entities stronger in blood moons? Depends on the vampiric race, but usually yes. Could a vampiric entity cause one to overeat? No, that'd be a gluttony entity. Vampiric entities don't usually care if you're overeating. If anything, they'd rather you be anorexic and like pale white and lethargic. So no, that's not really something that they do. That's not one of their goals. I'll talk about vampiric entities now. So vampiric entities usually exist between the 7th and 45th dimension. Those are the main areas they're in. Pretty much all the, well, not all, but most of the mainstream vampiric entities you've heard of. So when someone sits down, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, when someone sits down to think up a movie, they go, okay, I need a monster, and then an idea will just be put in their head, and that will be an entity of that race going, yes, put me in there. And they'll usually get very accurate. So you've got Nosferatu vampires, they're very common. You've got vampires that are essentially just a bat head bat fur everywhere, bat wings. These ones are usually very, very weak. There's a lot of bat entities, but vampiric bat entities are very common. Then you've got the ones that try and look more humanish, but they tend to have giant eyes. A lot of them are just Nosferatu, like their eyes are way too big. Like we're talking here to here, they're cartoon characters. Often they won't have hair, or they'll have barely any hair. Very long fingernails, very long toenails, skeletal. Tends to be what vampires look like. If you are seeing the vampire and he shows up and he goes, no, that's not what we look like. See, I'm very charming, I'm dashing, and he shows up and he looks, incredibly handsome, attack him, because what you were seeing is a cloak he's put on to make himself look attractive to you. When in reality, you're going to see him transform into a bony skeletal mess, and you'll go, oh, that's not attractive. I'm mainly talking to women here. No, that's not attractive. A bony skeletal mess with giant fingernails and giant eyes and giant teeth that don't fit its mouth properly is not attractive. So, double check. Don't get tricked just because he's got a cloak on that looks pleasant. So energetic attack him, he'll transform into a vampire, and then you'll clear him. That's what I'd recommend there. Then you've got the Dreadlord type vampires. Those are very common, decently strong. If you just type in Dreadlords, they look exactly like that. I'd say those are the main 3 types of vampires. Then you've got a lot of different vampiric minions, but that tends to be how it goes. No, succubus and incubus entities are different to vampires, but they have the same overall goal. But vampires will target your life force and soul energy, whereas succubuses will target they'll target that, but they'll also really target your sexual energy. Are all negative personality types like narcissist or sociopath? I wouldn't say all of them are run by vampiric entities. Some people are just terrible people. But yes, there is a large aspect of demonic stuff going on behind the scenes. Are there any other entities besides vampires that would cause recurring thoughts about a person, even though you're consciously blocking them in a removed cause? Yes. Yeah, that's a very common trope with most entity races. Archangels would do it, reptilians would do it, succubus entities would definitely do it, demonic entities would do it, you name it, they would try and do it. So yes. What crystals are good to protect yourself from vampiric attacks? Black tourmaline, selenite. You'd be pretty good with just those 3. Sunstone as well, a little bit. Or I'd say quite a bit, sunstone as well, yeah. But overall, just work on building up your own energy. That's much more important when it comes to fighting vampires, because you might be outside, not in your house, and you don't have a giant thing of black tourmaline there that you can use. One thing with vampiric entities, so when I first started energy training, I treated it like a game. I would energetically go in and I'd feel pain there, and I'd say, okay, I'm going in here, and I would show up in a vampiric entity realm. This one I remember doing in particular, and I thought, oh, it's a big castle. Oh, my energy has set up a training course for me. So I went in there, and there was the first 4. I think they were just like demons in maid outfits. It was obscure, but I went ahead and I created a sword and I cleaved through all of them, and then I went up to the next level, and there was a large feast and lots of gluttonous demons and food everywhere. And so I killed all of them, and then I went up another floor. The 3rd floor, I think it was just black tentacles coming out of walls. It was very boring. 4th floor, quite a lot of reptilians. 5th floor, I think there was like goblins, orcs, which are quite common fantasy monsters. And then anyway, I went up to the top. I believe it was 8 floors. And at the top, there was a vampiric Dreadlord type entity sitting in a chair, and I said, aha, you must be the boss. So when I kill you, this entire thing will collapse. So he had about 30 vampire minions. I was fighting him, and I killed all of them, and then I killed him, and his reaction was, who is this guy? Why is he in my vampiric castle? He seemed very confused that I was even there whatsoever. He wasn't very strong, and this was fairly early on. But I remember thinking, oh, this is a game. And then the more I trained and the more I cleared, I went, oh, hang on, that was not a simulation. That was an entity realm that I went in and had, not much of an idea what I was in at the moment. But that is called an entity realm. They will set up essentially a black marble. This is a negative entity realm. And then inside will be essentially a video game level. Just treat it like a video game. know that you'll win. It's just a matter of going through it. But that was an entity realm. That was one of the first few ones I cleared. Another entity realm I went in, there was just Vampiric bats everywhere. It was very annoying. Then one giant bat at the bottom. But that's what entity realms are. And then after a while, I'm like, okay, this is annoying. Can I destroy these from the outside? So if you're much stronger than the entity realm, yes, you can just, all right, you just smushed everything in the entity realm. It's all been erased. If you're not strong enough to erase from the outside, then you'll go in and you'll clear it from within. I do talk about this in my Fundamentals of Energy entity erasure video. But just treat it like a game, treat it like it's a hobby, and not, oh no, I have to go in and kill vampires. I can't do that. No, you can do that. Okay, if you can have a game and you have an Xbox controller or PlayStation controller, whatever you have, a keyboard, you can go on and you can kill vampires. Right? They're just video game monsters. Treat it like that, and you'll get through it, and you'll build up your confidence. Now, one thing, while these vampiric entities are clearing from your body, you may feel fear, you may feel anger. This is the negative entity that's inside of you that it's probably been inside of you for most of your life, depending on your life. And it will start emitting fear and anger. That is its energy, which it's accumulated your fear and your anger and fed off it. And it's now like, oh no, he's erasing me. Make him feel fear. And while you're playing this, or while I was preparing the video for this, I started feeling cold. And I thought, oh, that's odd. That's a negative frequency. Yes, that's this big, essentially energetic locust that's on you. And it's like, oh, he's racing me. Emit as much fear as possible. So we'll turn off the video and you'll stop being cold. But don't worry, the entity will be erased. You may be cold for an hour or two, and then that'll fix back up and you won't be cold anymore. So if that's happening, it's nothing to worry about. And that does go for most entities, but for this one, it was very, very noticeable. So if that's happening, don't worry about it. If I missed your question, just rewrite it. What happens when don't be intimate with any vampires. You'd have to retrieve your energy. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. That's an important thing. This video will retrieve. So this is an energetic clearing video and a retrieval video. So this will retrieve your energy from energy vampires. So, if they've been sitting for 10, 20 years, you'll feel quite a bit better. But it will also, which is more important, return the energy from energy vampires to them. So just how they've stolen your energy, they put a bit of their energy in you. And often when you're clearing, this will emit fear and anger because they want their energy will often be the thing that's like got their intention. So they're like, no, you must love me, you must do anything with thoughts about me. Out goes their energy. So we'll do that as well. It's a retrieval and clearing video. Yes, I will consider doing a succubus energy clearing video in the future. What happens if you destroy an artificial soul and someone dies? No, that doesn't happen. You destroy an artificial soul, and if they're an NPC and it's running them, they just be empty again. And if they've got a person, then you just retrieve their soul energy and put them back. Destroying an artificial soul, and I've erased thousands of them at least, doesn't do any damage to the person whatsoever. Do cold showers help against vampiric entities? Yes, it helps with overall negative energies in general. Can hiccups or bloating be a sign of clearing vampiric energy? Yes. Well, that energy in general, yes. No, how do you know if you're an artificial soul? You're not an artificial soul. You wouldn't be here listening to this if that was running you. You would be a real soul, but you could have an artificial soul that's to the side, and you just have to work on clearing that. No, I energetically won't work on someone who's evil. I can feel it, and by that I mean if someone's actions, and this is most likely no one watching this, especially if they made it 43 minutes in. But no, I won't work on someone if the combination of their actions have been evil. You have self-accountability, you have self-responsibility, that's on you. So no, I wouldn't do that. I believe that's all I wanted to talk about. In regards to where did these vampires come from? Well, just like with the reptilian entities, just like with the Kundalini gods, just like with the archangels, just like with the reptilians, just like with, well, everything else, they are foreign to this matrix. So they came in here probably 2 years after this world became the free-range farm it is now. And they've been here since then, setting up entity realms. The vampiric energy grid is like blood, and it's like dark scarlet and black. Like, so that's what it looks like. That's the energy grid. That's vampiric energy. That's what energy vampires are tapped into and using. So, they are essentially multi-dimensional vampires. They're walking around in a physical body, but they're multi-dimensional vampires. That's what's going on here. No, I've never had the fear that I wasn't real. I had the fear that everyone else was not real, but me, I was never concerned about me not being real. I feel very real, and you should hopefully feel very real as well. By the way, I brought lights. This one should be working and emitting a nice blue or whatever color I want. But at least my main ones are working. With the last video, I was planning to use daylight, and about a few minutes, 2 minutes before I went live, clouds. And that's why it was quite dark. And I turned on the light, which looked pretty bad. And I know how to light things properly. So I just have brought some lights. I've got a good proper light set up here, so I can record videos even when it's cloudy or rainy without any issue. So right now I'm recording with my camera. I was using my webcam last time, and my webcam is okay, but I may as well use my camera. I've got a proper setup now. So this should be what you're seeing, unless there's technical difficulties, in the future. I've got some nice candles behind me as well. As I said in the last one, I'll get like a nice stand or shelf and put some crystals on there. I'll make it look nice. Probably put a plant up. But that's what I'm planning to do in regards to that. Yes, you can play this video whenever you want. You can play it at home or at work. That's no problem. That's a very good question, Highrail. It's a very good question. However, one reason why I don't talk about things like that is because I would be perfectly fine if I had children, which I do not at this moment. For like my 6 or 7 year old to put this on and to listen to it. And if I start talking about that, which is a very good question, then it would be inappropriate for my 6-year-old. So in the future, I will do a video where I'll talk about adult topics, and it will be the adult topics video. And my 6-year-old will not listen to that one. The answer to your question, though, is yes. Where's my pizza? It's over there. Behind, it's just out of frame. I didn't move it. Oh, thank you very much to Steve again, by the way. We're on Steve's Zoom again. I tried to get my net sorted. They fixed my download speed, but my upload speed now goes from essentially 1 to 0.2 back to 1, so it's not consistent. So I can't live stream with it. It's very annoying. So this is through Steve's Zoom again. So thank you very much, Steve. It did take him a while to figure out how to move it so that the black bar from Zoom would be out of it, but we've got it all sorted. So thank you very much. Otherwise, I'd ask someone else, or I'd go somewhere with better Wi-Fi, which would be less ideal. I would not say Jesus is an energetic vampire, no. But if you were trying to connect with Jesus, yes, energetic vampires, most likely reptilians. Reptilians have a monopoly there. Reptilians will show up in cloaking as dressed as Jesus. I'll talk more about that in a video. Probably either the alien one or I might do one on religion. The problem is religion's a very touchy topic, and the less I talk about it, the better. Because I grew up Christian, so even when I was energy training, I still had those thought programs running in me. So I very much know that even when you try and think about it logically, there's a lot of programming there. So it's best to not touch it for the time being. Is it okay to play a few of your videos on loop during the night? I do. So, yeah, you can play as many as you want during the night. If you're lying there and you're like wide awake, you've got too much energy going, you can't handle it. But in general, yes, you can sleep with them on, so long as you can sleep with them on, then go right ahead. Would I do clearing work on your 6-year-old? Do I do any age? Yes, so long as your child is born, you can do clearing work on them. Because you'll incarnate into this matrix with soul contracts and often soul damage. So yes, you can work on someone at any age, and there's no issue there. No, don't connect with any what are they called? Ascended masters. Don't connect with any of them. No. I'm not going to talk about celebrities again. I don't care about them. How did I manage to get rid of religious thought programming? By gradually working through it. It took a while. I'm not quite sure. That could have to do with your environment's energy. So I'll just check what's going with the energy I've got up now. Oh, overall, I'll talk about this. So the last 5 videos, this will be the 6th one. This is a growing healing video. I haven't told anyone about this because I was thinking someone would figure it out and mention it. No one's mentioned it. You all fail. F plus. You're all terrible. No, kidding. But no one has mentioned it whatsoever. So, what is a growing healing video? I'll just say this. No, I don't think you're terrible. All right. I forgive you, but you still get an F plus, and I'll see you next year. So, a growing healing video, I've set up the energy, and then essentially another energetic thing I've set up on it will make the video energetically grow in time. And if I'm energetically clearing or working on myself, especially with the pineapple video, the heavy metals will have essentially energetic cloaking on them, and then I'll clear the cloaking or the implant that was cloaking, and then I'll be able to see more, and then I will add that to the video. So rather than thinking, okay, well, I can make this video whenever because it'll always be better in the future, which was something that I thought about quite a bit, now those videos are up and they'll be good indefinitely. So that's what's going on with growing healing videos. No, you asked it as a question. You didn't ask it as an answer. That's different. A question. No, that doesn't count. Still F plus. How do you use energy to get physical results? That's way too broad of a question. How much energy do you need to successfully leave the matrix of death? It depends where you die. That's a very major factor. But overall, so long as you get to rank 3, you'll be able to get out of it. That's the ideal goal. Just having the information will make it easier, but it's not going to be surefire. If you're at rank 3, it'd be pretty surefire. You'll have enough energetic strength to get yourself out without much of a problem. I've just recorded a video which I'll upload this week. So, and that touches upon exiting the matrix as well. So, watch out for that. I'm not going to talk about angel numbers because I don't know much about them. I never had them as much as a problem. So, and I don't have them, so it's not something I've looked into much. So it's not a priority for me. Could I make a dark healing video that you could play at night? Because the light is keeping you awake. Well, if you are on your phone or computer, you can turn down the brightness of your screen or monitor. You can do that. I've done that before. So yes, just turn it down. You can even put it black. You don't need the monitor on either. I have my computer on playing healing videos. So long as the video's on and playing them, I'll turn my monitors off and just leave the computer on. That works as well. If you've downloaded them, the energy on them will automatically update. You don't need to re-download them. So no worries there because it's connected with the energy? That's a good question, though. I didn't think about that one. I just post whenever I feel I should. Not much of a schedule there. It's whenever I'm up to it. And whenever, if I feel I should, that's what's going on. Next weekend I'll probably be busy, so probably not a live stream then. But ideally, I'll be doing live streams weekly, and I'll just put out videos for everything that needs a video. Yeah, that's what I plan to do there. I'll go to say 58 minutes. So if anyone has any other questions on vampiric energies or energy vampires, let me know. If you do feel envy or jealous, like you're working really hard and then someone is at the top and you can tell that an energy vampire, they're pure evil. Know that, yes, they are, but, and they are having things given to them which they shouldn't. But a few years from now, their life will collapse and you'll go right up past them. So long as you keep energy training, it will just be a matter of time until, yes, there will be way more interference. While they have things helping them for the time being, you will have things against you if you're a targeted person. That's how this is. You'll have to work a lot harder. You'll have to be way more talented. Or not so much way more talented. You will need some talent, but you'll just have to put in a lot more time and become a lot more skilled at your profession than someone else. But as you get energetically stronger, as you get energetically clearer, people will be able to sense that you are a good person, that you will do what you say you can do. And that, especially as you get energetically strong, you'll be able to clear a lot of the blockages, and then things will be much better for you, 3-4 years from now. Well, that person is now divorced and their kids hate them. That's what tends to happen in the long term. So while things are bad in the short term, in the long term, it'll work out. So long as you put in the time, the effort, and you keep training. What's the point of these vampire movies? Well, the dark ones, they're very good stories. They're heroic stories. It's this vampire is going around terrorizing society, and it's up to the hero or a group of them to go and kill him. That is, a fairly good message. Okay, you need to unite against evil and defeat it. The romantic ones is more so. I'd say there's some kind of dark aspect there, where it's the idea of having a relationship with something that's quite dark and evil, but this is more like a woman fantasy than a man fantasy, but it's dark and evil, but you're the only one who can tame it, right? That's the kind of thing that modern women, to an extent, are attracted to, and that's why it's so successful. That's why it's made. I wouldn't say it's really that dark of a story, unless I haven't seen Twilight, so I can't comment on it much. My mom watched it. I went, that doesn't look like something that would be entertaining to me. But if the way it goes is she becomes a vampire and she becomes evil and he's going around sucking off people's blood and killing people, then that's quite dark. But if it's just some kind of forbidden love fantasy, those are very common, and it's probably harmless. Did I set the intention to reveal energy vampires in people's lives? No, that'll be pretty obvious for you to see, especially when they start reacting to having their energy cleared from you. What kind of physical training do you do? Just try and do some weightlifting. Just don't overdo it. I'll talk more about that in the future. Yeah, I have a video plan for that. What do I think of Twilight? I'm not the target audience. That's what I think. I'm not a 13-year-old or 45-year-old girl, so I don't have much to say about blood. Are wizards real? Probably. Maybe. It depends how you classify them. Anyway, I think I've talked about all I should with energy vampires. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to add. Feel free to play this video as much as you want. If you do have any questions or you weren't here for the live stream, feel free to ask those in the comment section, and I'll probably answer them if they're good questions, or at least decent questions, in another live stream. All right. Take care.